Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at some new batteries. Second time in last 5 weeks we've taken a look at some new batteries. This time the batteries are from Coddar, C-O-D-D-A-R, Coddar. Well, you know how I am when it comes to words. I tend to find a way to mess them all up. So whenever I do these things, I don't have the equipment that Joshua Bardwell does. To really get a numerical metric of how batteries perform, I really need someone like him to do battery testing. So if you're looking for that, unfortunately, I don't have that for you. Additionally, I didn't try to find a way to do some sort of punch-out test or a speed run or anything of that nature. There's so many different variables in flight, but I did want to give you something other than just my opinion on the batteries. And that's why I created this spreadsheet. Now, I actually had to do this twice. I'm a little bit old school, and the first time I started doing all these test flights, and these test flights come on 2S450 batteries. I don't have that printed on there, but I did focus on the 4S250 batteries from those four manufacturers. To circle back, the first time I did it, I started going through a few, and I don't know how many flights I had in, and I tend to write things down, and then after I take my notes on a notepad, I then transfer them onto some sort of digital format, and I lost my notes. I have a feeling they're buried in my work notes because I'm working from home, so I've got my work notes and my quad notes, everything all kind of jumbled together, unfortunately. So I had to start over. And what you're looking at is 10 flights and the average flight time. And what I did was, when I looked at the DVR, when I got to 3.5 volts per cell, that's when I cut off the time. Now, you're probably looking at that going, that's some crazy, ridiculous flight time. What are you flying? Well, I'm flying this guy right here. As you can see, he's a little bit busted up now. So this is, I can't even remember what frame this is. I think this is the Nameless RC, like N47 frame. It's one of the most rigid frames that I've found for this thickness and this weight. Also, my camera was a Runcam Nano 3, and it got busted up so much. Actually flew it like, I don't know, 10, maybe 15 packs when it was blurry, and then I fixed it, and I flew it some more, and then it broke again, and you can see I finally broke one of these goober canopies. We're getting kind of sidetracked, but I've talked about these goober canopies quite a bit. I have since fixed this one with some little bit of super glue, but this top piece broke off finally. I think I hit the edge of some garden edging or something like that snapped that off. But so I finally broke that. But this little quad, it's got a Beta FPV, as you can see right there. Hopefully you can see right there. Flight controller, I believe this is the 2S version. Then I've got a cheap Eachine Nano. That's the original cheap Eachine Nano VTX. And then I've got my RXSR in there. So that was the basic quad setup. Oh, I forgot the motors. 1103, 7000 kV on some HQ props here. So this is what I was flying around, and I flew this around a lot, so much so that I broke it. Then I had to go through my DVR, pick out the flights. Of course, I lost the first section of flights because I had taken those off the SD card and misplaced those along with my other notes. So what you're looking at is, of course, those times. You should also look at that with a little bit of a skeptic's eye, because the Coddar batteries and the all-line batteries, they don't have as many cycles on them as the G&B or the RDQ. So something to keep in mind there. Both the all-line and the Coddar batteries came in above the G&B and the RDQ on the average flight time when they got to 3.5 volts per cell. Is that a big surprise? Maybe, maybe not, but I wanted to give you something to look at. You have the 3.5 volts per cell. That's in a separate column. That's just kind of a notation that I made. And then you have the flight times for the 10 flights. And also, one other thing about this testing that I did was I didn't just go out and fly the RDQ batteries or the G&B batteries. I actually took one of each. I always went out and flew at least all four, one of each in that flight session. That way I can have some relatively measurement of the fact that, you know, the weather, the wind, all those sorts of things. And from one day to the next day, I might be flying a little bit differently. Maybe I'm flying a little faster, or I'm flying a little slower, what have you. So you could look at those flight times with a little bit of a skeptic's eye, though, as well, because the Coddar batteries and the all-line batteries don't have nearly as many cycles on them as the G&B and the RDQ. The other thing about the Coddar batteries that I really am not going to dive into here at the desk is the weights, as far as how they're labeled for the milliamp and the cell count, are very comparable. Within, I would say, a relatively close margin of error. There's some manufacturing variables that you'll find as well. I didn't bother to weigh the batteries. You know, it kind of makes me wonder, how did we get to these batteries? Did G&B start making these batteries and just everybody else decided, okay, we got to make batteries just like G&B does? So that's a little bit curious to me on how we got to this format, because our batteries used to be more this shaped, you know, but maybe a little bit shorter for various cell counts. But So that's a little bit curious. I'm wondering if we have one manufacturer or two manufacturers or three manufacturers or six different manufacturers, or you have a bunch of different brands all being made by the same company, and maybe there's just a little different manufacturing process or formula that they're using in order to create a difference from one battery to the next. That's just my speculation, something I thought about when I've been looking at these batteries and wondering how we got to the place that we got. I did focus primarily on the 450s, as I said. I have been flying the 3S and the 4S. Oddly enough, I've been flying the 4S on that Diatone toothpick, and then I found out that they recommend a bigger battery, like an 850 to 1000 milliamp on 3S. So I've not been flying these as much as I initially was when I got that Diatone toothpick. And then I bought a set of these off of Amazon because I wanted to fly them as well. Now, the opinion, or the anecdotal side of this, is how do I feel about the batteries? Of course, it's early. I don't have hundreds of cycles on these batteries like I do some of my other batteries. And I kind of have to give my opinion, I think, because that'll probably end up being the most common question is, what do you think of the batteries? And something that I noticed when I flew these batteries compared to the other batteries, when I have to make a quick maneuver when I'm flying along and maybe I'm going behind the tree and I'm carrying a little bit too much speed, so I've got to punch the throttle at about the same time I'm creating an angle not to hit the tree or the fence and get behind the tree, you know, that turn I've got back there. And there's a few other turns as well, but there's one of those things when I had that maneuver, when I had to quick throttle punch, but real short, that it seemed to stop a little bit faster because of that quick throttle punch. Now, you can attribute that to maybe a little bit higher discharge on these batteries, a little extra performance, you might say. I also noticed it on punch outs, and one of the things that I found myself doing when I was flying this little guy is, instead of flying with a nose down angle quite a bit, is I would actually cruise up to the shed and almost get to a pause point where I'd almost jump the throttle, to where I'd let off the throttle and then hit it real hard. And I really enjoy that sort of punch out. Universally, I enjoy that. I found myself doing that more. Does that mean, again, that it has a higher discharge rate or not? I don't know. That's just my opinion. It's what I found when I was watching the DVR. It's what I found when I was flying, is that I would notice that. And then when I do it on other batteries, I didn't quite have that same feeling, even though I was still doing it. So there might be a performance advantage to these. The last point is the price point, and they will tell you themselves that these are a premium battery. And therefore, you're going to find it to be a little bit of a higher price. Right now, the main seller of these batteries I find on Amazon. You can find a fairly healthy variety, and they have all sorts of sizes. 2S clear up to, what, 850? I haven't seen a pack like that in a long time. They've got 3 cells, anywhere from 300 milliamp to 750. They've got these 1S ones, although I think they've already changed. Yeah, I think they've already changed the label that they're putting on. Or maybe this is a newer label, and what they've got posted on Amazon is a little bit older, because on Amazon these are white, the label. I think everything else is fairly consistent from what you see here on the desk. So if you're interested in trying a new battery, you're going to find these primarily sold in pairs. So if you want to buy 3 or you just want to get one, that's going to be a little bit tougher to find, but you can take a look on Amazon. I'll have a link down in the video description. I like the batteries. I want to get more of them. I want to put more cycles on them. I want to fly them with more different quads. And then, you know, and really for my purposes, you may find these batteries appearing more and more in videos if I continue to like their performance. And as you know, with my quad review videos, I do tend to show the battery that I fly during those flight videos. So that's something you can look forward to seeing, and give yourself another tool to measure, you know, is he still using this or is he not? If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the section down below. I appreciate your time, and thank you for watching.